Hello everybody, I'm back with another video for you today, and I'm going to be talking about a few more revealed cards for the upcoming expansion. If you haven't seen my kind of first video talking about a lot of the new mechanics that are coming, as well as some of the new cards and just about the expansion in general, then do check out that video first, and then we can jump into the rest of the card reveals so far. Now I will be posting, regular videos every 2 or so days, to recap all of the cards that have come out and talk a little bit about them, where they might see play, in decks currently, what it could mean for the future in terms of other cards that might get revealed and stuff like that. So let's just jump into the cards that we haven't seen so far. There's been quite a few revealed, I believe 5 new ones, so let's talk about them a little bit. Now a couple of them not too crazy, especially so far we've got a lot of neutrals for the most part, saving a lot of that faction specific kind of goodness for some of the later reveals, I suppose. So first card we've got here is Pact, and Pact is just a bronze neutral, 4 provisions, just kind of a filler card, nothing too crazy. Boost the unit by 6 and give it doomed. So not a particularly unique or crazy effect. A little bit of a downside potentially with doomed, but not much to write home about. And boosting by 6 is a pretty good deal. 6 for 4, so that's kind of what you're aiming for with your bronzes for the most part. Will this be played? Probably not. It's kind of unlikely. Maybe in spell-only decks, Herald Gord decks is where you kind of see this fitting in, and potentially in Shoop decks as well. Definitely Singleton, Redea, Shoop decks are going to improve with this expansion, because we've already seen a couple of pretty decent neutral, we'll actually see a couple more here, I guess. Pretty decent neutral cards that you can just throw as a one-of into a Shoop deck. So we've definitely got options there, but otherwise probably not going to be played. You'd rather rely on the faction-specific 6 for 4s. Of course, boosting plays into tool removal, so this is not going to be very good against poison and all of those tool removal effects, resets, etc. that you often run into. So just kind of a filler card, again, making Shoop a little bit better. And funnily enough, making Gaunter, as he currently exists, a little bit better with that doomed tag. There are quite a few doomed units in this expansion, it looks like, so that's going to add some support for that Gaunter card, who right now is a bit lacking in terms of power level. Okay, next we have Offering. This is a 6 provision neutral spell, and it's damage a unit by 1, enemy or friendly. Death Blow, play a bronze unit from your graveyard and give it doomed. So kind of a budget necromancy, a much cheaper necromancy, and you get potentially 1 damage. Otherwise it's just kind of a necromancy, but it only costs 6 provisions instead of 7. So a bit of a better necromancy overall if your deck is built to support Offering. This could be quite good in monsters, for example. If you have, Gurnakora's Fruit or Fruits of Isguth, you can maybe damage that. Might take away a bit from your leader value, but definitely in monsters where they've got very powerful bronzes like Lava, for example, you're going to be able to maybe reuse them with Offering, and that's something you might be very interested in doing. I was already playing, for example, Necromancy in Kikimore Queen because you really love getting extra Lava, so possibly that could be some kind of archetype, or that could help existing archetypes. Maybe you would play Offering in Kikimore Queen if you can potentially play, Monster Nest as well, get some drones, Offering, and then get more Lava on the board, which you can buff up. It's possible. So really this will be quite good in factions that can kind of get their own 1 strength units and damage it with an upside. So Monsters is definitely the one. You've even got Ancient Foglet, which is can possibly be used to kill your own Ancient Foglet and get, a Reviver unit. Otherwise, only really going to be playable if you can very easily get, 1 strength unit. So you're maybe thinking something like an NR deck, if you can manage to damage stuff to 1. Probably going to be quite rare, so again, might be a card that you decide to put in a Shoop, although 6 provision is usually not, and rezzing a bronze card for a Shoop deck is usually not a great idea, so not super likely. This might see play in monsters, that's kind of what I'm imagining, or maybe even in like Precision Strike or something, but then again, reviving one of your bronzes is usually not going to be that strong in that kind of an archetype, so I think this is probably going to be a monsters, monsters benefiting from this more than anything really, and I don't imagine it will be particularly strong, but on Lava it definitely has potential. Alright, next up, we've seen most of these cards already. Fortune Teller is new. and it's a 4 for 4, again, neutral, nothing too crazy, just a couple of cool effects though. We've got deploy on melee, give doomed to a unit, deploy on ranged, give veil to a unit. So a bit of flexibility there. Doomed is obviously going to typically be better when you're using that on the opponent's units. Veil going to be better on your own, so you've kind of got this offensive, defensive, flexibility going on there, so that's pretty cool. Not too crazy of a card, although again, another option for Shoop decks, Singleton decks, if you want another little tech card. Veil is actually looking potentially quite promising as an alternative to Purify, particularly against poison. If your unit gets poisoned, you can then Veil it, and that's going to make it very difficult for them to get any subsequent poison value. So you kind of are going to be able to protect a unit from poison very effectively with Veil, whereas with Purify it's kind of a one-time cleanse and then they can poison again. So definitely looking forward to Veil as a mechanic. That might end up being quite powerful, especially if we see it on cards which are already quite well statted. 4 for 4 and giving Veil is decent. Pella's are 4 for 5, so comparing to that, this isn't too bad. And if you're going to run a Pella with the intention of purifying poison, then maybe putting the Fortune Teller in would be better. But of course you can't, you can't purify defenders, so keep that in mind. Or you can't give Veil to defenders and get rid of defender status with that, you know what I'm saying. But you have the upside of having this Doomed ability, so you can maybe give Doom to an enemy unit that likes being in the graveyard, a Ceres, an Egern, something like that. Definitely has some potential there to get a bit of carryover value. And you can maybe even use this with current Gaunter as he exists. Definitely liking a lot of the Doom support there. That's really cool that they're supporting the old Gaunter with all of these new cards. I am a big fan of that. For those who don't know, Gaunter basically, he gives Doomed to a unit and then is able to destroy a Doomed unit with his order effect. So if you're able to give things Doomed, in theory Gaunter can maybe get more value, but it's still going to be a bit of a risky card to run. Anyhow, that's Fortune Teller. Definitely got some potential. Maybe will be kind of a tech card that you throw in one of sometimes, or again, if you don't have other options in a Singleton deck, then you can, definitely go for a Fortune Teller, I think. Alright, next we have Ethereal, which is, again, a neutral. All of the cards that I'm going to talk about today are neutral. They're kind of, as I said, going for those before the faction cards at the moment. And this is a pretty interesting one. 4 strength, 8 provisions, Doomed, and at the end of your turn, transform a non-demon unit to the right into a base copy of self. So you're going to be able to just kind of, transform very low strength units, maybe 1, 2 strength units, into 4 strength units. So that's potentially gaining you 2 or 3 points per turn, provided the Ethereal sticks around. And keep in mind that once this kind of copies, it will then also copy, future units that are put, to the right of that. So in theory, you can snowball this very hard maybe and even be getting 6 points a turn or even more, constantly transforming all the other units that come onto the board. So maybe there's some synergy here with decks that are able to, quite easily spawn low strength units. Maybe Arrakis Queen could be a good option for that if you're able to go Ethereal and then all your little Arrakis Queen charges, turn those into effectively a 20-point play, 4 per drone. That could be quite cool and powerful combo. Of course, 4 strength, so if you kill this guy before he transforms something, then he's going to be a lot weaker. He's not going to really do his job. Well, actually, that being said, you can only kill one of them, right? So I actually see this being really maybe quite strong, right? If you get 2 of them on the board, they're going to have to answer 2 threats. Honestly, maybe this card is just busted, right? Like, you get 2 threats on the board, they have to answer 2 4-strength units, otherwise you're transforming 1s and getting 3 points per turn. So, watch out. Maybe this card could be quite busted in a monster deck, for example, with, a lot of drones or a lot of 1-strength units of some kind getting transformed into Ethereals. I could see that being very, very hard to shut down. Particularly if you have maybe a Caranthir or something to get you can't Caranthir that. That's a shame. But he's not a monster unit. But, there's a lot of potential here. I think it could actually be quite snowbally and really get out of control if I'm reading into the card correctly here. So that's definitely a very interesting one. Might see a fair amount of play in decks that can support it. Okay, and last but not least we have Allgod. I'm a huge fan of this art. I've got it in the YouTube thumbnail here, and really great community art contest art there. Really cool stuff. And this is a very interesting card as well. 11 provisions, 4 strength, but it boosts 3 units in your deck by 2 when you play it. So potential for 6 carryover, really quite a lot. provided you can draw into or play all of the cards that you boost, and provided that you get that Allgod kind of earlier in the game, ideally maybe around 1 or 2, I could see this working quite well with, potentially decks that are throwing out a ton of their units, like Precision Strike, Ailerin, and maybe Ceres with Shield Maidens coming out. Stuff like that could be quite powerful with this, if you're able to set that up for the future. Allows your short round to be even more powerful, really. Get a lot of value from that plus 6 points plus a big finisher play that you were already using. Will that be viable? Not sure I see it. It could also be very good in terms of just boosting up engines or things you want to protect for later in the game, so, or even dual synergy in Northern Realms, so maybe you can boost an Anses already, get him boosted up in the deck. That could be very powerful, or Selkirk, or whatever it would be. There's definitely some possible synergies there. Kind of hard to say whether it will actually be viable or if it will just be kind of like a Triss Butterflies or, Ithlin, which are, this carryover card that doesn't really see play. Definitely 10 for 11 is not great in terms of the points you get, so you're going to need to get a lot of value from that carryover effect and from maybe getting some boost synergy going on with the cards that you do boost up. But very interesting, and definitely going to have fun experimenting a little bit with that card, I think. And definitely enabling some kind of red coin abuse strategies, where you play Allgod, and yeah, go kind of crazy with deck boost. I think that's a mechanic we've actually not seen in the current version of Gwent for the most part, unless you count Albric, I guess. But yeah, very exciting stuff. A lot of pretty viable and strong neutrals shown so far. So from what I'm seeing, it seems like this expansion there'll be quite a lot of kind of playable stuff. Definitely a lot of the cards here are looking quite okay, quite decent, and maybe even, very strong. Oneiromancy, we're looking at you. So yeah, very exciting. Can't wait for more reveals, and I will be discussing them on this channel when they come out. But also be looking forward to some gameplay, which I'll get up on the channel eventually. I'm just kind of been doing some IRL stuff, some real life activities, and I'll be back to playing and making some videos in no time. So thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye bye.